All right, welcome to Instructor Interviews. Hey everyone, my name is Graham. I'm a career snowboard instructor. For the better part of 2 decades, I run SnowboardTeacher.com, and I'm a contributor at Snowboard Selector, a site that shares great gear advice straight from instructors. So I'm happy to be joined today here by Duncan from SnowboardTrainers, a site with the goal of helping new to advanced riders ride safer, progress faster, look better as they ride along their snowboard journeys. Now, Duncan, did I get that right?
Yeah, my full name's Jonathan Paul Duncan, but for all intents and purposes, I go by Duncan.
Excellent. Okay, so Duncan, you are an instructor as well. You've been in this game for a while. So what was your inspiration in building snowboard trainers?
I mean, it's a long roundabout story. So I used to be a tax accountant, and so in 2018, I left my career as a high net worth tax accountant in the San Francisco Bay Area, and I took this gap year. So 2019 ended up being this gap year where I moved to Austria and I went through a snowboard instructor um, training course. Basically, got you ready for, pretty sure it's the Austrian, the Anwärter. So kind of like an equivalent of a level 2 here in the States through the American Association of Snowboard Instructors, ASI. So I went through this course and just had this amazing gap year where I was kind of traveling all over the world, like quite literally in Israel, China, was in the east coast of the United States, Austria, Switzerland, UK, Ireland. Um, and after that long season, I came back into the States and I had this certification where it was basically a lot of theory. I didn't have a lot of experience yet,
Mm-hmm.
but I had a lot of theory from the Onverter
Mm-hmm.
and from the training course that I did with SIA Ski Instructor Academy. So I went through this training course with them. There was a lot of value, but I hadn't had the firsthand experience yet. So I did a season at a local resort called China Peak in the Sierra Nevadas in California, kind of central Sierra Nevadas, a little bit on the southern side, a little southern. And so ended up doing 2 seasons there. And in my first season, I passed my level 1 and my level 2.
Cool.
And right around this time, I start getting this like kind of gut feeling. And it's like, yo, bro, you need to be documenting this. Like
Mm-hmm.
good, right, wrong, like just show your process. You kind of already did this thing, which whatever, and then now you're doing this thing here in the States, like just share it. But I kind of like insecure, kind of push it away. And so then I moved to Mammoth. Once I moved to Mammoth, I passed my level 3 through ASI. And it's still, this feeling keeps kind of popping up like, bro, you need to do this. Like, you're going to regret it if you
Mm-hmm.
don't do this thing.
Okay.
And so finally, in the second year at Mammoth, my fourth year instructing, after I passed my level 3 and start going through some more training, I'm like, all right, I'll do this thing. And then, so that's really the start of snowboard trainers, kind of this like random path with a lot of work and different experiences that all kind of stacked up into this sensation or feeling, being like, you need to do this thing. And eventually I just started doing it. That was,
Brilliant.
I think, about 3 years ago.
Okay, good. You dropped in like any like snowboarders need to at some point. We got a vision, we got something we want to do, and you just said, "All right, this is the moment. I'm gonna drop in." That's brilliant. Good, man. And I'm actually curious what brought you towards snowboard instructing itself? I mean, you said you went to Austria, that's where you did your initial training. But what made you want to go from being a recreational snowboarder to the professional aspect, to career snowboard teaching?
I never really wanted to be an instructor.
Hmm.
What I realized is I wanted to be like the trainers that I had through SIA
Okay.
and the trainers that I have worked with Snow Sports Austria,
Yeah.
like the actual trainers, the examiners. Those guys were super cool. I felt like this kind of brotherly, like soul snowboard brother connection to these guys.
Okay.
And I was like, I just want to be like these guys. And then in my first season, I was like, doing this thing I wasn't really sure I wanted to do. I mean, instructing itself kind of has this from my perspective, like kind of lame persona around it. Like I don't necessarily associate snowboard instructors with like the coolest people. That obviously has changed. And a snowboard instructor, I think, are pretty cool, right? But
We know that we're
um,
living the lifestyle that a lot of people dream about, right? So,
yeah, but this that the idea of being a snowboard trainer, that was actually
Mm,
really cool to me.
okay.
And snowboard instruction is a is a step
Yeah.
to become a trainer,
Yeah.
as we know.
Okay, good. Brilliant. So let's get into the topic of teaching a little bit. I trained with the Canadian Association of Snowboard Instructors, and some of the guiding philosophies in that methodology are to teach to outcomes, right? Everything is outcome based. We also teach a lot about board performance, which means bending the snowboard, building that energy, and then releasing that energy through our turns. What are some of the guiding principles, I guess, that sort of shape your approach to instructing? What are some of the overall things?
Um, I think it should look good at a very simple level.
Yeah. Heck yeah.
Um, a lot of people, when we break it down, at least after like my idea today, right? It's like when we break it down, what do people really want? They probably just want to look cool and like get down the mountain safely with their friends.
Hmm.
Like the bar is relatively low, and once you get into it, like maybe it changes.
Yeah.
So that's more of like my general approach.
Yeah.
That said, when it comes to like a technical piece of teaching and ASI and like that whole perspective, it
Hmm.
I think ASI here in the States we really focus on, in my opinion, teaching the person in front of us.
Okay.
So, and then we go into teaching styles and different ways people learn, and then teaching methodologies. So, depending on how this person's processing and receiving information,
Mm.
depending on your skill as an instructor and how you share information, hopefully you could share something that resonates with the student to help them receive the greatest impact with the least amount of confusing perspectives.
I like that. I like that. So simplicity, connecting with the student. One thing I dig with what you said too is people wanna look good and feel good, and I think that those two things go together. I don't know if you'd agree, but I feel like if you do something that feels really good, there's a high chance that it looks good too. Just in terms of following that inner sense that we get from snowboarding, following those feelings, right? Um, yeah, I dig that. That's really good. Okay. And I got a question for you here. Like when it comes to beginners, we're teaching beginners. Um, what's your approach to introducing someone to snowboarding? If they're a little bit hesitant, they're a little bit fearful. What are some of the things that people might um, be up against when they're stepping into our sport for the first time? And how do you help them navigate that?
Yeah, so I kind of heard two parts to that. Like, what's a technical approach to teaching beginners? And then, like, how are you going to help them process or navigate that learning experience based on their wants and needs and fears? So, for me, this kind of comes down. This doesn't come down. From my experience with Josh Smith, he's on the national team with the American Association of Snowboard Instructors, one of the newest snowboarders who got brought onto the team. He was my trainer. He and I still talk. Um, and so one thing we talked about on the training team at Mammoth is how do we want to share information for our instructor team to share with the public, right? So that's a little bit different than just how do we teach the student, because that kind of changes.
Hmm.
But for the training team, like something we're working on is distilling this, which we already have the videos recorded, putting it on YouTube for our instructor team to go watch this process and have like so they could understand it. And then they don't really have to focus too much on the technical piece. They could then identify and help the student more where they are. But simply without getting maybe into too much detail, unless you want, what we're going to do is stack one simple skill
Hmm.
or one fundamental, excuse me, within the American Association of Snowboard Instructors. So I've been in golf mode. My brain's not really in snowboard mode right
It's
now.
true. We are off
So you got
season.
to give me like, you got
It's
to give
all
me a minute
good.
to think about this. Like, what's the first fundamental that we're talking about? And I think one of the first things that we're going to talk about is like vertical movement and flexion and extension,
Okay.
right? We're not really going to talk about, and this is a little nerdy for some folks, we're not going to really talk about like dorsal and plantar flexion to tilt the board and help us stop or anything. One idea is if we move our body simply, like if we were to sit down into a squat position, if our weight is over the middle of our foot, and then gravity just takes its effect. When our center of mass moves back, it's moving back towards our heel. Naturally, we're going to weight our heels and our toes will naturally lift up. Momentum, our center of mass is moving back.
Hmm.
Well, then if we, and that could be a heel edge, basically J turn or stop or floating leaf, whatever. Then if we move away from the board and go back to a centered point over the middle of our feet with our center of mass, and now we start moving our center of mass over the toes, well, biomechanically, naturally, we'll weight the balls of the feet, the heels will rise, we'll tilt the board, and we'll be on a toe edge. So I'd say generally we want to focus on one fundamental as we go through a teaching progression, whatever that is. And then only in a later point would we want to introduce another fundamental, but make sure that the one's present and then we'll add on to it. In
Hmm.
terms of like the teaching and managing people's fears and their expectations and where they are, because we know there's a difference between, let's say, a 40-year-old mom who's out there snowboarding with her 6-year-old daughter and 5-year-old son because she wants to be the cool mom, but she doesn't like necessarily really want to be there. She's kind of scared. She's doing
Hmm.
it for the kids. Maybe the dad already snowboards,
Hmm.
right? So mom is completely different than if you're teaching like 5, 6, 7-year-old son or daughter, right? Because
Yeah.
daughter might be more fearful and more excited. Like it depends on all of these things. So from a high level, you just gotta takes time figure out questions to ask those people so that you can receive feedback so you could hopefully start teaching them in a way
Yeah.
that resonates more.
Love it. Okay. And just to follow up on that, so you said we stack the steps on top of each other, and what makes you know that a student is ready to move on to that next step?
But I mean, one thing I would say at a simple level is if they're falling. Like if you're
Okay.
falling,
Yeah.
you haven't figured out that
We shouldn't
part,
move.
right?
Don't go past that yet. Okay.
Yeah, and I'm not saying like slam in the face snow,
Yeah.
like like I'm just saying like slipping out the movements aren't happening, right? And that's where as like an
Yeah.
instructor, you should definitely be able to see like more like technical talk, like what's happening to their center of mass in relationship to their base of support or their snowboard,
Yeah. That's
more
what's
specifically.
happening in that teacher's brain there, right? Yeah.
Yeah, like if you're not seeing this happen,
Yeah.
then you should be coaching to that, giving time for
Yeah.
practice so that they could develop that movement or skill or
Yeah.
whatever. Yeah.
So I
And
think
then
we both agree, yeah, yeah, for sure. Like lessons are a good thing. Get professional instruction. It's gonna accelerate your learning process, and hopefully you're gonna fall less probably too. But I guess for that self learner, if someone's out there trying to figure this thing on their own, if they're falling a lot, that's a key to say, whoa, take a step back. Let's focus on one thing at a time. That's sort of where you're getting at.
yeah, and there's like a way you could troubleshoot that as like a self learner,
Yeah.
right? Like and this is like a paradigm shift that I had snowboarding, and it wasn't until I started getting trained and working with professionals that you start seeing the mountain differently so that you could set yourself up for more success. Because we might actually have the movement developed, but all that happened is because we navigated the mountain poorly. We ended up on a slope, or we might be on a slope where it's not benefiting us to try the specific thing we're trying.
Mm. Okay, that's good. So match what you're trying to the terrain as well. Yeah, yeah, that's a yeah, good point. I like that. Now, um, let's shift the focus of this conversation from the learning process itself towards gear. Do you ever give your students gear recommendations? And yeah, what would you recommend for someone who's starting out into the sport?
So this is just based on my experience snowboarding for whatever it is coming up on 25 or 25 seasons, right? With the last, what is that? I've been a Mammoth for, with the last 4 seasons, I've been doing over 150 days a season, snowboarding a lot. And then like these are some of the boards that I ride behind me. Okay, so I'm just and
Yeah.
being a teacher and seeing people and all this. Right? So hey, just first first thing when it comes to board recommendations and equipment is you should definitely do your own homework and figure out what's best for you first. Okay. You're the person spending the money, you're the person going to be on the equipment, so you're taking all the risk. And so, yeah, do your homework first before, and don't just take one person's piece of like opinion and just like go get multiple sources of information and figure out what's best for you. That said, I just say mid flex everything. Basically board, boots, bindings,
Mm,
around a five. It could be a four, it could
mm,
be a six, right? Um, and then profile. I'm just a big fan of positive camber underneath your foot, right? I'd say personally stay away from reverse camber, especially like a true rocker
mm.
V, like under your foot, just generally speaking for the average rider. I'd say mid flex boots because you're not going to blow them out in a season. It's going to take a little bit of time. You could go a little softer on the boots. Um, you could go a little stiffer. Again, just general advice. Um, I'd say if you have a bigger foot, get a wide board.
Hmm.
Like if you're in a large binding, generally speaking, you should probably be on a wide board, depending on the board. But um, yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Mid
Good.
flex
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah.
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 And positive camber, wider foot, bigger board.
Those are good. I like those. Those are good general recommendations, and
Yeah.
universal. They'll fit that beginner to intermediate rider. When would you say we can start a rider can start to move towards something with maybe more performance, a little stiffer board or stiffer bindings? What does that do, and when should riders move towards that?
Yeah. Just in my opinion, with stiffer equipment for the average person, like I would just say like 80% of people probably shouldn't be on anything remotely stiff.
Okay.
Like that's just my hot take. I see a lot of folks who are on equipment that's just too stiff for them. And you're like, with your ability as a snowboarder versus the potential of your equipment
Hmm.
is like, it's just not there. Like
Yeah.
that person should like, you don't need the super DOA.
Right.
You just need the DOA. You
Sounds
don't
good.
need like the evil twin plus. You just need the evil twin.
Yeah. And
Like you don't get the extra board like for the average person.
gotcha. Yeah. Until you start doing 150 days a year, something like
No, I'm just
that.
saying, like in my opinion, okay, I was on because I liked Italia. I got this like it was not a like a lizard dinosaur. I don't know, but it was chopped up in all these pieces, bright green board. I remember the video part and like follow me around. And he has this dope board. I get this board. But Euro Italia is super tall. He's a pro rider. He knows how to use the equipment. This board was super stiff.
Mm,
I'm trying to learn front boards, and people, I'm like, why can't I get my press in? And they're like,
mm,
bro, for you to be able to muscle that board is like just not there. And so it wasn't until recently I found out that your physical strength, like your physical strength of your legs, should mirror the flex of your snowboard. But and most people don't have that strong of legs. And
mm,
then the micro movements to be able to dorsiflex or plantar flex and like have the awareness to move your center of mass around the board in different phases of the turn or during different phases of a trick to get different performance outcomes. Like the average person has no idea what I'm talking about.
yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm just saying.
Yeah. 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 Okay. That's good. I like that. I dig that.
That's my hot take.
I like it. Um, And another question: a lot of folks will enter into the sport by renting equipment, right? And getting recommendations from the rental shop, and hopefully, the board comes out with the binding set up in the right way and everything. But when would you say that a rider should make the jump from renting equipment to purchasing their first set?
I mean, it depends on the person
Okay.
at the end of the day. Like some people have the resources and it's not a big deal.
Yeah.
I've heard of people who literally have bought snowboards, didn't like it, and then just like put the snowboard in the trash. Like no joke, like a $800 snowboard, like full boots, bindings, board, like bought it, didn't like it, and then just
Wow.
like threw it away.
I might have done a bit of dumpster diving if I'd seen that happen, I tell you what, but
So, but generally speaking, I'd say like for the average person, go snowboard a few times,
yeah.
rent equipment, right? The rental equipment's gonna do a decent job to help you be successful,
Okay.
right? And then if you really want to make the commitment, I'd probably buy newer used gear because older used gear, you're just running too much risk. Anything over like 5 years old, I probably wouldn't get
Mm.
just because technology and boards and stuff change.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd say in the last like 3 to 5 years, like rental gear, newer use ideally. And then I would go, yeah, soft flex stuff,
Good.
medium flex stuff.
Those are good recommendations. I like them, Duncan. Now, I want to jump off something you just said that gear changes, gear evolves, and what are some of the evolutions in gear that you've seen recently that are things that you're stoked on? That's the first part of the question. The second part is, what would you like to see? Where would you like to see gear go in the future, um, in terms of what we're riding out there?
I don't know how much gear has really changed that much and how much technology has really impacted snowboarding. Obviously, it has with side cuts and different flex profiles and hybrid cambers and all this stuff. That said, I don't see us like going to hovercrafts anytime soon, or
Okay.
like
We're
we're
not
not
going to
going to
be
go to
foiling. We're
hoverboards.
not going to
Like
foil down the down.
generally speaking, the equipment in my perspective has stayed relatively the same since inception.
Mm,
That like obviously things have changed, but like we're not hovering on snow yet. So like the fact that you have the phase system now, which is just a different, faster way to get into your snowboard, or step in bindings.
mhm,
Like there's been step in bindings since like people started snowboarding. Like let's like you used to put your ski boots into snowboards. In some cases, you still do, right? Like I don't know. So I don't really see snowboard technology change that much. That
okay.
said, boards are lighter, faster, poppier. They're using more expensive material. It's they have to rationalize charging $1,000 for a snowboard deck.
Hmm.
You do see stuff, I think, with was it is it Union or they came out with a boot that's supposed to be like very customizable for you, almost more like a ski boot for snowboarders
Mm.
that like guarantees like 200 days. I don't know exactly if it was Union or um, somebody or 32. I think I don't know. 32 made a binding and Union made a boot this season. Is what I've seen. You also know like technology within Oakley is changing. Like they're dropping some pretty cool stuff with single lens goggles in like this upcoming Olympics. So you're going to see a bunch of gold frame like Oakley team members wearing these dope single lens. I mean, I don't know, electronic like heated jackets and boots and socks. I,
There you
I
go.
don't think those are like revolutions by any means.
Oh, but they,
It just seems
incremental. It's rare that we get, a massive jump, but these little incremental things, seeing 3D shapes, or like you got Karua behind you there, I see, and that's those folks are doing all sorts of fun stuff with shapes, right? They're experimenting all over the place. Um,
I mean, I really dig Korea. I think just a side note, like Korea is really cool. I like their boards. That was been my powder board.
mm,
It's been fun for carving and chilling, just like transition riding. But I mean, at the end of the day, it's just like rocker in the nose and camber underfoot.
there you go.
Like not
Um,
very
let's
complicated.
this is fun. We're talking about gear. Let's switch back to instructing and talk about the future of instructing. One thing that I've seen, popping up in some of the bigger resorts is what's called terrain-based learning, right? Like sort of changing or manicuring the terrain in a learning area to be able to help riders, come to natural stops, little spoony kind of areas, or areas with banks, so that can help with turning and stuff like that. Do you think that that's an important part of the future of teaching snowboarding?
I might take this a little bit like different, just because like a different way. Just because generally speaking, I'm actually not very excited about the future of teaching in snow sports because
Okay.
it seems like a lot of folks like don't actually make it very interesting and exciting. And then by the time like most of the governing bodies who are like presenting all the information, like I don't know, there's it's a big topic.
Fair enough. Maybe we save it for another
So
conversation.
so that said, I think like the future of teaching, at least in my opinion, is going to go to more digital platforms and the cost is going to decrease. At least that's what I'd
Mm,
like to see.
mm,
I'd like to see like technology working together. Like if you had Meta Ray-Ban or like Meta Oakley goggles, which I've heard like some people are actually coming up with, or even if with the simple, let's say, thing of like a QR code. So now you could go up to, for example, a terrain-based area or a curated space for learning and
mm,
developing, right? And this could be for the like the self-learners,
mm.
right? So you buy a season pass for like, let's say like this Mammoth Mountain um, Academy, right? And so here you just buy this entry level like version for a couple $100 a season, and then you get access to go around the mountain and scan these QR codes. And then a teacher pops up, somebody who knows what they're talking about, and it's fun and engaging, and they just like show you something cool. And they're like, "Hey, you're here." Like if you made like a little map, like a game of
Mhm,
like different
mhm.
things to learn and teach, right? So it's like fun. It's like Duolingo. You knock off little learning outcomes, right? But then you go over to this point, it's like, hey, now you have this little U ditch, this little baby half pipe, and we're going to focus on whatever it is. Cool. So go ahead and try this, blah, blah, blah. And then, like, that wouldn't be the only thing. Maybe you'd see like 10 different areas or 4 or 5 different QR codes, and you'd go scan the different QR codes, go play the little game. You'd have a couple of coaches or instructors over there actually helping coach and instruct, right? And saying, oh, you're here, da da da. And okay, try this, try that. Cool. Go practice
Wow.
for 20 minutes. Let's see what's going on. Right. And so you'd have more of these like areas where teaching and development would happen, where you'd be using technology. Or like the goggle thing would be really cool. And some people freak out on this, but like basically with AI models and platforms, I can see people having like projections on their goggles in certain areas, probably at first. But you would be like Mario Kart. Like you'd be running virtual gates, getting coins and getting a score versed on how many coins you got. And you could like change the whatever the requirements for the person. Like you want to be super technical. Okay, go do some large radius carve turns, flexing that edge change. Oh, blah, blah. It's like, and then you get these like feedback from like the biomarkers in your boots, like carved, hooked up to the goggles. Like it would be a lot more fun
I
than it
like
is
it.
right now.
I like it, man.
Versus,
It's a very I like that. I love to listen to that. It's a very original and forward-thinking take on that. I like where your brain's going with that. That's pretty interesting. It sounds like an interactive, very interactive kind of video game-esque experience of riding down the mountain, but with people actually doing it, so they're bettering their skills at the same time. That's really neat. Now, maybe one day snowboard trainers will pop up on people's videos. But in the meantime, where can people connect with you, Duncan, and follow what you're putting out into the snowboarding world?
if people want to support snowboard trainers, the easiest way is to follow us on YouTube or TikTok or Instagram or Facebook. Um, One of my intentions and focuses is to spend more time on YouTube. I just think it's a better platform for not the longer form piece of content, like an actual like lesson. And that's something I'm focused on YouTube is putting like, hey, you and I, we're gonna go take a lap together and we're gonna go work on a skill. Okay, so we're gonna go work on our toe edge turn. And now I'm gonna give you like 3 drills and some practices and then show you how you could the benefit of learning your toe edge and like not just your forward toe edge, but your switch toe edge.
Mhm.
And then we'll show like some cool things we could do off our toe edge.
Brilliant.
So I
Okay.
think YouTube and then everything
Mhm.
else is like just short form, kind of quick, concise. But
Okay, that's good. Well, that's wonderful. So from beginners straight to advanced riders, you can find Duncan at Snowboard Trainers. Thank you so much for being here today on Instructor Interviews. It's been a pleasure to chat with you, and hear your take on the industry and good job on what you're putting out there. Can't wait to see what's next.
Thanks. I appreciate it.
All right, and so please go ahead and hit subscribe on this video series. Our goal here is to bring you insights straight from the experts, just like Duncan. And so thank you so much for being with us here today, and we'll see you in the next episode.